participants.
Nice. Do we have audio? Ah.
Ah, wel goed.
So who's mute? That's fine.
Ah. So, lot of people coming in.
Having problems with the system.
I'm just collecting people, getting in and promoting them to panelists.
Hi, everybody.
Waiting for my kids.
Hello, guys.
Diana Duke. So, welcome to this RAN meeting of the 20th of June. And we're waiting for Ellen Cooper because he is going to.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Nikita.
Hey there. Welcome. Where's Alan? He was editing the document a moment ago.
Probably he's waiting for some answers or for Galavachivan to come here to this to Zoom, you know.
So what's the agenda for today? What's this agenda?
Yeah, I think Alan is in New Zealand. I saw something on Discord that he posted, which means it's 5 in the morning for him. I checked.
I tried to promote Ellen as panelist.
Okay, I pinged him via the Google Doc.
Yeah, Gary is. Yeah, you see, right at the bottom. So,
Hey.
welcome, Ellen.
Hey, Alan.
Alan, you're muted.
Good morning, everybody. Apologize for being muted. And no, it's not 5 a.m. and I'm not in New Zealand. DC is. And there was some discussion about using some of his scripts for tracking. In the rocket.
Okay. Well, I'm glad it's not 5 a.m.
Good day,
Cool.
Alan.
It's beer o'clock in the Netherlands.
I'd like to introduce Deanna. I think everybody knows Deanna. Not everybody may know is that Deanna and Patrick and Dan Connolly are going to be working with the task committee. And Deanna, do you want to say something about that, or should I introduce it? What's the best way to go here?
You can introduce it. I just know that I've been nominated to be on it. I haven't had a chance to talk with Dan and get a real good footing as far as what all I'll be doing on that panel. But yeah, if you want to go ahead and talk about it, that'd be great. Okay,
I think that's awesome, Deanna. And of course, I don't know exactly what you'll be doing because that's the task committee this internal decision. But my guess is that you guys are going to be looking at every issue and making sure that they're valuable to the cooperative, keep making sure that they're on track and don't get stalled. Some of our issues in the bounty system do have a tendency to get stalled. It's a source of frustration for me. It's a source of frustration for some others. But we'll be looking forward to you poking around within the GitHub and asking people what they're doing and how things are progressing.
Sure. And so maybe, Alan, you can go in a little bit more detail. How are things getting stalled? What's the holdup on things getting done?
So I think in general, with a distributed system like the one that we have, especially one that has some uncertainty in it, there's been some uncertainty in the bounty system and how things are going to work and so on. It's sometimes people commit to doing stuff and they get it half done or they don't finish it or whatever. And I don't really have an answer to that, but I do have the question.
Okay, so it's the stalling out is oftentimes more on the participant that's signed up to that particular bounty issue.
Yeah.
Is there a process or a timeline? So if someone posts something as an issue that needs to be worked on and then someone assigns themselves to it and starts working on it, are there timelines associated with that? And is there any teeth with that as far as if someone assigns themselves and then wanders off into the desert and we don't hear back from them, that somebody else can take over for them? Or is there a process for that now? No process,
Deanna. And yeah, that I'm not sure whether we'd want to process or not want to process or whatever, but that's exactly the kind of thing I'm talking about.
Okay. All right, well, that'd be something to discuss as far as what people would like to see. You know, I don't want the task approval committee to insert ourselves into this any more than we need to. I think the intent is that we still want you guys to continue with what you've been up to as far as the, you know, coming up with task ideas and that sort of thing. It's really just having another set of eyes on, you know, whether or not what's being brought in is bringing value to the co-op and that sort of thing. So it'll be a work in progress, I'm sure, over the next, you know, couple weeks, months. But I definitely want to get feedback from the bounty members.
Deanna, I want to personally thank you for that. Another set of eyes is more than welcome, and getting things done is really, really a goal for us.
Okay.
Yeah, I was meeting with Peter and some other folks, and one thing that seemed to be clear is we needed to give more direction to the people doing bounties. I know Peter is embarking on trying to get specific tasks entered into the system that are in line with corporate objectives in marketing and such, and I think coordinating between the co-op and the membership and having people who connect the activities in the co-op to the community activities in that area is very important. I mean,
So Jim, I invited Peter and he's not here. Do you know if he's available? Maybe he can speak for himself. He filed a number of interesting issues. I'd like him to discuss those, but I don't see him in this meeting.
And which Peter are you talking about?
This is Peter Moorman. He alternately lives in the Netherlands and in Bali.
Okay.
He filed issue down in the agenda. You can see issue 774, 776, 779, and 780. I think those are all his issues. They're all interesting, and I wish that he can say something about them. Okay, if we're done with the welcoming, DC, Casey, and Patrick. I did not specifically invite Patrick, so if somebody wants to send him the link, that would be great. The next item on the agenda is 755 progress. I guess I can talk about that a little bit. But I'd prefer, again, if some of the members would speak about that. So Deanna and people that may not be familiar with 755, Greg Meredith is now giving a series of talks entitled Design of Computational Calculi. And this series of talks is interesting in the sense that he's trying to, or he says that it's meant for people at all levels. P&L is working on a transcription of the first video in that series. She'll be talking about that a little bit later. But the participants in the videos are very, very wide. And in addition to that, Jake Gilberg has set up a collaborative learning GitHub. That's an awesome resource. And then in addition to that, we're trying to set up, I had hoped for 8 concurrent working groups. We've got 3 right now. One of the people on that working group who's been extraordinarily productive is Golovich Ivan. And I posted a link to one of the little exercises that he made up and did. But I don't know Ivan's Discord, so it's hard for me to get in touch with him. I know that Calentium was also, Nikitas was also trying to get in touch with him so that they can work together. Maybe Nikitas, can you speak for him at all?
Yeah, we have discussed this to work together, and Golovach Ivan gave me his Skype, so he's now working with all his documents he's taking, and he don't have much time to speak about it. After he's finished his job, we're gonna make it more clearly.
Okay, of all the participants, you guys seem to be the most technical, so I hope that you guys continue and do well in that.
Hello, can I
continue that?
Was someone wanting to speak?
Yeah, I want to say something. I belong to team 3 with Noniku and David and Ubisoft. We're also working on a document, but it's not made public yet. The document actually includes, we are trying to break this thing down to a very low level language. We're trying to introduce users or developers to Scalar and then to Arispace. Then we're also trying to introduce users to Roland and computational design and raw calculus. So, but the document now is going to last for a 3-week period. So by next week ending, it's also to be released. It's ought to be a beginner's guide, more like, so that anybody that has a very limited knowledge of programming can still understand what Roland is and how to write the language without having much knowledge of programming initially. That's our plan currently.
Valentine, I have one comment on that. And I've heard Kenny Rowe and Greg and many other people say that the way that Rolang and RSpace is designed, it might be easier for people to start with Rolang and RSpace than to start with other languages. And they believe that it's easier for people that just start there than come from somewhere else. So that seems like a very, very good goal.
The guide is that you have to start from Scala because RSpace is based on Scala. So we introduce users to the basic of Scala before we now enter into RSpace. And also Rolang, we explain asynchronous programming. We explain stuff like how functional programming works, how row calculus work, what are channels, all those kind of things. We just explain it in a very basic language before we now introduce them to the actual language of writing it.
Valentine, I have a specific question. You said that you're working on the documents, but they're not yet public. Is it possible for you to make those documents public in comment mode so that me or Deanna or Patrick or Jim or HJ or anybody could just see what's going on and possibly comment, even if it's not necessarily complete?
Okay, yeah, it's very possible. Could comment that on we could do that.
I have a question on tutorials and documents that are being developed by community members. Are they being vetted by someone who's a little bit closer to the material to make sure of accuracy? Because if this is the first time that someone's seeing this material and they're trying to translate that down to someone else, I want to make sure that that translation is an accurate translation. So is there anybody that's going to be looking at these documents that are being provided? There's transcriptions and translations, and those things are pretty one-to-one as far as the original material goes. But when you start getting into interpretation of technical material for another audience, we want to make sure that there's accuracy in there. So is there plans for someone taking a look at that to make sure that we're not producing something that is not 100% accurate or close?
Deanna, my answer is that's an extraordinarily good question. Please comment in the issue or look at some of the documents that are coming out and DM people, whatever it takes to get as many eyes looking at it as possible. That would be great.
Okay, thanks. And I'm no expert in it, so I'm not the best person to be vetting it. I just want to make sure someone out there is.
Yeah, so Mike and all the developer team seems to be extraordinarily busy, and I hate to interrupt them, but we do need those kinds of channels. And there are people like Jake Gilberg who are pretty familiar with the material that could help out. There's lots of resources that are potential, but there's nobody being point person. And if Deanna, if you could step up to the plate and do that, that'd be awesome.
Okay, I'll talk around and see who's available out there for helping out on that.
And Valentine, you're going to publish, put links up to what's there. And there are also some other links within 755 right now, Deanna, so you can look at those as well. I wrote a short essay that's never been published, vetted, and I could be totally wrong. I mean, I said what I thought that some of Greg's purpose might be, but and that essay is open for comment. If you think it's wrong or whatever, or it needs small corrections, or it's just a wrong-headed approach, just let me know, please.
Sure, and I'm not saying this to be critical of whatever anybody's doing. I'm just saying that this is a super complicated, the technology that we're trying to cover here, and I want to make sure that it's approachable for everybody, if that's the goal.
Yes, it is, and you're not at all being critical. This is exactly what cooperation at scale is supposed to be.
Okay.
Diana, I can help you with that if you want to.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay.
Okay, Deanna, that's Nikitas, so.
Yeah, I see. Thanks. I will.
And his GitHub is Kelemtium, QEL. Anyway, you'll find it in the issue.
I see it. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, I'm sorry that Will isn't here. Will is going to put together a team in China, and I have not been a very good follow-upper myself. I got busy with other things, so I haven't had a chance to help Will form that team. But if anybody wants to contact Will, I think that would be great. This is maybe a segue into the value-added translation concept. So is it okay with everybody if we just go there?
Yeah, that's fine.
So let me talk about this concept of value-added translation. There were some comments, particularly with respect to China, that China is a marketing goal, that we want documents translated into Chinese for the purpose of marketing. I have a different take on it. I think that translation is a necessary component of almost anything that somebody who speaks a foreign language does. And I think what I'm interested in is knowing what people in China or people elsewhere are doing, knowing what the infrastructure is in local areas like Valentine just mentioned a little bit of. The Chinese community is very sophisticated. I want to know what they're doing, what other blockchain projects are doing, what they think of the technical issues, whether there are publications in Chinese that we need to be reading. Those are the kinds of things that I'd like to see the Chinese group and all of the groups doing, that, where translation might be a component, but the value to me is working all together. So if anybody has any comments on that, that would be great. I know that Peter Moorman and Michael Eisner and I had a pretty long discussion of it. We started a document on it, but we haven't really finished. But basically, to me, translation is something that just comes up naturally in any kind of contribution to our cooperative.
Yeah, for example, in Russia, there is not a lot of speakers of English, and they want to learn the documents, so that's why we were translating a lot of them.
Yeah, so in addition to translating, Ivan has gone a step further. He has been posting glossaries. He's been posting examples. You guys have been doing a great job in contributing back to the community rather than just doing a simple translation. Obviously, translation is required for what you do, but that's a small piece. And even when you translate simply translate a document, you have impressions, you have things that would be valuable to share with the community. So contributing back in the source language, in my opinion, is just as important, if not more important, than in the target language. That's my view.
Yeah, well, sure. We need to understand first what we're going to translate and our comments, and made it more clear and how to say that, more in our way to show people.
Yes, we want to know what. Yeah, we want to know what your way is and why you guys are so successful. We want to know why the groups in China are successful. We want to know. We want to know how we can become better through this cooperation at scale.
Right. It would be good to do an analysis on what value you guys are adding that that makes it that much more successful in those areas. So like Alan's saying, rather than just do a straight translation, if you're adding something that that might be more useful for the target audience that you're working for, we could copy that into other areas to try to mimic that same sort of success.
I see one of the issues being that we have things that get translated and then don't get reviewed and things that don't get disseminated. And it really has no value if we translate it and people don't read it. Now, I'm of the feeling that, translating to every language is a good. We want to beat our competitors into those markets and get into the markets where our competitors are and make Rchain a household word and generate some excitement. But it has to be published and promoted in a way that it is actually read in order for it to return value to the co-op.
Are there more comments on translation, value-added translation, what we would like to see out of some of the communities that speak different languages? If not, I'm going to move on to issue 774, which unfortunately I don't understand. Well, I haven't looked carefully. Dan, you look at every single issue that's ever been posted and you do read very carefully. Could you speak to 774 and the other Peter Moorman issues?
What is 774?
So
I'm on a mobile device.
I'm sorry. Here, I'm going to mute my video and I'm going to go.
It's the decision on need or lack thereof for translation, localization, regionalization.
We just
so that was most
closely
closely related to the discussion that we just had, except it's the marketing variant of that. Two other issues are develop a meetup in a box, which sounds like a very interesting idea. Develop website information architecture, and 776 has set up an competitive intelligence working group. There were some members of ours who are more on the investor side, who were very interested in being able to compare Rchain to other blockchains. In fact, Dan, I think I read some of your comments that sounded more or less like this is a good idea. Where is the beef?
How did these get on the agenda? Peter's not here, is he?
I put them on the agenda hoping that Peter would be here. He's not. If anybody else can speak to the issues, that would be wonderful.
What do you mean speak to? Is there a problem? What's the goal?
Well, for instance, in this competitive intelligence, what's been done? You've read the issue. You said, yeah, what's your impression of what's going on, what's been done, and how valuable is it to our cooperative?
I can comment on that. We're talking with the marketing team, trying to help them with that. Peter wants to introduce it to the bounty system. I'm not sure if that's possible, so he needs to talk to Patrick about that. So there's nothing really going on.
Okay, Patrick's not here. Dan, is there any reason not to introduce this to the bounty system?
I don't think they are in the working group. So is Patrick here? I think it has to do with Patrick and Jonathan, and they're not here. So.
Okay, well, if it has to do with Patrick and Jonathan, then maybe you can get in touch with them and figure out where we should be going on these.
I can follow up with them. Yeah, I think Peter is supposed to do it by next week. So.
Okay. Okay, Dan, do you have any more comments on any of those issues? Have you read anything that strikes you as valuable or silly or anything like that?
Nothing that I haven't written in there.
Okay.
I guess I'm used to things coming onto a meeting agenda if they're not going well in writing.
Okay. Jim, it looks like you want to talk about your work study group. Jim?
You're on mute.
Yeah, the work study group has gotten some activity. We're setting up a machine for testing our programs and working on the bounty system. The latest work is we're incorporating into the bounty tool here the budget vote information, which is to be our, we're creating a dashboard for handling bounties. You can see who the bounty label leads are, and you can look up issues and you can search the bounty system. And we want to make this a console that's useful to the guides of the bounty system, that we're looking for feedback on it, and we're looking for people that want to get involved in the development. It's a fairly simple development environment for people to participate in.
Yeah, I heard
Jim,
some
I have a comment. This is exactly the kind of thing I think that Deanna and Patrick will be very interested in. It gives great visibility into what's going on at the moment.
Yeah, the feedback has been useful, but it can be a lot better.
I saw some questions earlier in the notes about something from Deanna about, is there a timeline? I wonder if are there timelines? Is that about the business of guiding or about the business of doing a task?
Deanna, I'll let you handle that.
Oh, is this from earlier in the conversation?
Yeah, that's why I joined, actually.
Hi. Ellen had mentioned that there was some potential issues with, people signing up for working on a task and then just kind of it fizzles out. And so one of the questions I had is that when one of these bounty issues comes up and it's proposed, is there a timeline that's set for completion? Do people agree to that? How is that enforced? So if someone assigns themselves to a bounty issue and then they fizzle off and they don't actually complete it, what kind of teeth do we have in replacing them or having somebody else come in and actually complete that?
So the sort of norm is to have SMART issues, and SMART includes, timelines and stuff. And so if people start to fizzle out or whatever, one of the norms is to put this need SMART objective tag on the issue. Okay. In general, for replacing people, nobody has an exclusive on anything. So if somebody's not performing, then if a guide thinks it's important, they probably should recruit around. But nobody has an exclusive on anything, so anybody can jump in at any time. That's kind of my take on it.
Okay. So when an issue is posted and people assign themselves to it, there's nothing stopping multiple people from working in parallel to the same goal on that.
Correct.
Is that correct? Okay. So how do you coordinate to make sure that duplicative work's not being done? And is it really just, it's the onus is on the people to make sure that they're reading in there to see if someone else hasn't already assigned themselves to it? Or is it, whoever gets it done first wins kind of thing?
I guess it hasn't been that much of a problem. I mean, when somebody posts a comment, everybody else who has ever posted a comment gets a copy by email normally. So you can sort of see what's going on. There has been, the only issue I've seen is that somebody said, oh, I'm going to make these videos and I don't want any help. And so we kind of said, that's not really, that's kind of against the culture around here. Try to be more open to help. Mm-hmm. And he said, oh, okay. And that's about the only time I've seen this kind of thing come up.
Okay. So Dan, it's really,
sorry, this is a tangential comment. So Deanna, can you finish? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, just to reiterate, it sounds like it's up to the guides really to kind of keep track of who's doing what and whether or not they're staying on task, I guess.
Right.
Hey, Patrick just joined. I just want to have a shout out for Patrick. Or did he? Yeah, is Patrick here? Somebody send Patrick a link, please.
Oh, hey, can someone do me a favor? You all seem to be referencing some notes. Can someone put that in the chat so I can see what you guys are looking at?
Okay, I believe I sent you a link to that this morning, Deanna. That's the Rchain active member meetings. And as is the case, it starts as an agenda and it ends up as meeting minutes or meeting notes.
Oh, I see. You sent that to me in Discord. Okay, I see it. Thanks. I haven't opened that up yet today.
You're welcome.
The other piece of the other clock related thing is that when an issue gets posted, we're supposed to say yes or no within 5 days. And so there's a query that I put together that says, this has neither had a positive vote nor one of the tags that means you're losing. So a guide really should do something about it. And that's, if I were not on mobile, I would give you the link right to it, but it's linked from the Bounty Task Guides wiki page. And then the other thing is that if somebody doesn't label, if they don't label their issue with anything that's connected to a guide, then we have, I guess Trench Float is supposed to go and find those and tag them somewhat arbitrarily.
Okay.
Oh, and the other sort of big welcome thing is that you're now a root for the trust metric. And so you should go and certify people as you learn that they're trustworthy. And if you're probably not familiar with that, so at some point we should demo that for you.
Yeah, that'd be great because this is all new to me.
Right.
Okay, and I think that Jim might want to demo Glitch for you as well if you don't have a link to that and know how to use it already.
On that link, Jim, that you had posted up, that you were showing us earlier, is there is that open to everybody to be able to look at, or is there a username login?
It will require authentication with GitHub.
Okay.
It happens pretty automatically, Dan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Jim, you have a nice design with that.
It's a group effort. It's nice to see this kind of cooperation in a cooperative and doing something like this. And Valentine is joining and sort of leading a few people into helping with the project. So I think we will be able to make it into a really good tool. If you notice here, you have all the links you need here. You can log into the system. You can go to the reward system. You get the task overview, task approval overview list.
Okay, Jim, I think that Deanna has particular interest in that, and that's we can probably take that offline. I want to end up in about 10 minutes. I do have one more agenda item, which is do people have things that they want highlighted on the community debrief?
So when you take something offline, can you please say who's going to take the ball?
Dan, you're right. Who's going to take the ball? Jim and Deanna, are you going to take the ball on this one?
Yeah, I'll set up a meeting with Jim to have him demo what he's worked on there, so I can get a better idea about what that provides.
Thanks.
Okay, and maybe include Patrick as well.
Yeah, I can do that. Anybody else want a more in-depth demo?
please invite me, but don't make me critical path.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to speak about the community debrief. Last week, Greg said that we weren't aggressive enough in getting time to describe what's going on. This week, I'm going to make sure that we have a small report to the community. Are there particular things that people would like to see in that debrief?
Well, the executive committee decided on the task approval committee. That seems like a pretty big one.
Okay.
And the other one is that Greg has the ball on drafting metrics.
Okay.
Did you know that? Did that cross your radar?
Are you asking me personally?
Yes.
I think that I saw the statement in the meeting note, the EC meeting notes, but no, it didn't.
Okay, well, I first learned about it in the retrospective report issue. HJ said, here's what happened in the board meeting. He said that Greg took the ball.
Yeah, there are these board meetings that happen and they're supposed to be published within a couple of days. And
no, they have not. There's no such norm. They get published when they're published.
It's not a Rchain norm. It's required by the state of Washington, I believe.
Well, that would be interesting to know if you could actually cite such a rule.
Okay, well, I'm sure that Evan and other people that are up on legal requirements are aware of what the reporting publishing requirements are.
Well, and if they are aware of what they're doing is, publishing as much as months later. So, and they don't seem to be embarrassed about it.
Maybe some of our executive committee members could bring that up as an executive.
I do often and loudly every time I get a chance.
I've just an announcement.
Yeah.
So today I made all the payments. There's 37 payments to the RAMs, and I'll email will do follow up with that.
Did those go all the way to the RAMs, or are they now in the multi-sig?
No, they have been signed already. Second signature.
Okay, great. Thanks.
HJ, I just want to introduce, Dan is very familiar with this, but I don't think that Deanna and Patrick necessarily are. So Deanna, do you want to take that as a follow-up item? Just to follow up with HJ, he's got the best financial reporting that we have within the system.
Sure, I can certainly do that.
Okay. I'm open to that.
Okay.
Okay, we have 5 more minutes before 10 minutes to the hour when I'd like to break. Does anybody want to need part of those 5 minutes?
What's the coolest thing that the bounty system is producing these days? I'm trying to think of something.
Well, the Telegram group is and the QQ International chat box. It's an enormous success. Yeah.
Dan, my answer is different. My answer is that the bounty system is producing participation by a lot of our membership.
Yeah, that was something I highlighted in the retrospective report, that we, at least in the development section, we got 15 people, directly rewarded.
Do other people have a good answer to Dan's question? I think that's a good question.
What comes to mind is Jim's noob groups. That's all I can think of.
I think the work of the principles and values group has been valuable.
Oh yeah, that's true. That that group sort of does better than the governance group because they did better connecting to the bounty system in a way, right?
That's an interesting take.
That was the impression I got from chatting with you.
Well, the word did get back to me that some people in the governance group kind of got discouraged that people were getting bounties in the values group and they weren't. And but we're getting some energy back into the governance working group now. And,
Jim, I sent invitations to every member there.
I don't think I've gotten an invitation yet, personally.
Sorry, I didn't understand that. Can you say it again?
I said I don't think I've gotten an invitation. You say you sent an invitation to everybody in the noob group. I didn't get one.
No. Sorry. Jim was talking about the governance working group.
Okay.
They're not in the bounty system currently, and if they were, there was a suggestion that if they were, they might be getting a little bit more traction on what they're trying to do.
Yeah, they had a lot of energy for about 2 months, and then they sort of fizzled. But it's yes, Barry is doing some good things, and people are interested, and we're going to have we're going to be holding our regular meetings, and really delving into scalable, decentralized governance principles and pick up the other efforts that of the working group.
Here's an interesting statistic. In the early days, I worked with some of the Chinese guys who were setting things up, and I'm in the QQ group. Not that I understand a word that goes by, but every now and then something I recognize comes up. And I just checked the numbers. Our Telegram group has 2,579 members, and their QQ group has 873 members. So their Chinese QQ group is 1/3 the size of our global Rchain co-op group. And there's really a lot of activity going on. And there's one guy who he shows up every now and then. His name is Mao, and he's come to this meeting and he's come to the identity meeting. And he's extremely active and also extremely knowledgeable. And if you're curious to see the activity, I'll send you an invite to the QQ group.
I have a request, Kit. Instead of sending me an invite, can you file an issue for somebody to translate what's going on in the QQ group so that our cooperative can benefit by their activity?
Yeah, translating a chat channel is a challenge, huh?
Well, maybe you don't have to do it word by word. Maybe you can say this major event occurred in last month, or these three blockchain companies are starting in China using Rchain or whatever.
Yeah, the moderators for the social media channels really ought to be occasionally saying, here's what's going on, and here's what's hard, and here's what's easy. We did that a little bit of that with Merv a while ago.
Yeah, we can try and reinstate that. I mean,
that would be awesome.
If you install the QQ app, you can tap on a message and it will translate it to English, but it's only one by one.
I don't think that we require, word by word translation. I think we're interested in activity. We're interested in usage. We're interested in why are all those people interested in Rchain?
Yeah, my favorite thing would be to hear every month or every couple of weeks or something what's cool and what's hard or whatever.
Okay, let's try and get some interlanguage communication going.
Cool.
Yes. And with that, we're going to be going once, going twice. See you all next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.